I appreciate that. I appreciate the opportunity to come and connect with you all today. Do you all mind if I share my screen real quick?
No, please do.
All right, cool. I'm gonna start off with a quick little activity. Can you all see the screen?
Yes.
All right, cool. We're gonna start with a quick activity. I like to always just kind of warm up things. The first one, it says, "Can you guess what's real and what's AI generated?" So I can't really see the chat, but feel free to take yourself off mute and give it your best guess.
I'm on phone, so I'm going to have to bypass that one. Sorry.
Looks like we have some people in the chat, Brandon. I'll kind of help you out here.
Thanks, man.
People are saying the top seems to be real and the bottom seems to be AI generated.
All right. Yeah, the top seems to be real. The bottom seems to be AI generated. Absolutely. If you look at it, like most of these spots are pretty much identical in the wild. You know that it's not necessarily that way. So good. We're gonna move on to the next one. What about this one? Which one is real? Which one is AI generated? Lucas, can you please help me with the chat? I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks.
Absolutely. Yep. People are rolling in. Some have no idea. The right, however, seems to be the one that most people are saying might be AI generated.
Gotcha. Absolutely none of these are real. These are all three AI generated. As I looked at this one, the one on the right, definitely looks like it's just slightly photoshopped, and there's a lot of detail in this one in the middle. So that one also looks fairly real. This one's a lot easier. And this is going to be the last one that we're going to do. And you guys can just share. And then I would want to know why. So tell me why. By the way, you don't have to text it. You can just talk. It's fine. Tough crowd.
Looks like folks are still in the chat saying top is not real because it's like a clearer picture.
Let's look at more details. What else? What else are we seeing in here?
They're also saying the top, the words in the poster are garbled, or, usually with AI generated, the text isn't really accurate.
Absolutely. The text isn't always accurate. Right now, if you look at this, like this one lady has a sign that she's literally not holding, but it's magically staying still. Right now with AI, there are usually dead giveaways, right? So it's like sometimes it's the fingers, and sometimes it's the hands, but AI is getting so much better. And as it continues to get better, it's going to be far more difficult to tell the difference between what's real and what's fake. And so I want to take you on like a quick journey of the quality of AI through Will Smith eating spaghetti. You'll see it in a second. Here we go. So as you can see, it's getting hold on. Oops, sorry. No. What did I just do? Hold on. Wait, sorry about that, you all. Hold on. I'm now having technical difficulties. There we go.
Do you want AI to help you?
I need it, right? I'm going to share it back again. Thank you for cutting me off. All right, and you guys can see. And now, and then you can look at it now in 2025. So it's a big difference between what you're seeing in 2025 compared to what you saw in 2016 and 2020. And it's only gonna get it's only gonna change even more. Right now they just released Sora 2. When I say they, OpenAI just released Sora 2, which is providing some of the more realistic videos. And so it's something that we need to constantly think about. In fact, I said that there are 10 key questions that we always need to have for when we're evaluating images. So what do you see in the image? What message is the image trying to convey? What elements are in the background? Like, can we trust this source? Who is the intended audience, right? All of these are questions where there sometimes are some standards that may slightly connect to some of this. But then you also have to look at some of the ones like the metadata analysis or the reverse engine search. The reason why I think this is very important to me is because as we start to think about systems and structures, AI is changing everything. Right now, we are in the midst of an AI revolution. So McKinsey Global says that 400 million jobs worldwide will be automated by 2030. Goldman Sachs believes that 18% of those jobs are going to be computerized. There are going to be so many jobs that are going to be lost to AI, but even more that are going to be built that has some type of interaction with AI. Crunchbase reported that this year, over $100 billion was invested in AI companies in 2025. It is literally the biggest boom since the World Wide Web. And if the role of education is to prepare students to be ready for life post-secondary school, then we can't continue to educate them for jobs that will no longer be around when they hit the job market. And so I always say, like, how can we prepare our students to be the leaders and not just the consumers of this type of tech? Here's some more information. This is a national study that was done. It says 68% of teachers have received some form of training on how to use AI. Of that 68, 60% taught themselves. 33% are reported that they're using AI basically for their own tasks like lesson planning and things of that nature. And I should say that they're only using the AI for their tasks like lesson planning. 15% of teachers, only 15% of teachers feel prepared to oversee the use of AI in classrooms. So what we're seeing is that teachers are starting to feel more comfortable using AI for lesson plans, but it's not really translating into instruction. Right now, there are 28 states across the there are 28 states that offer guidance on AI. DC is not one of them. And so I want to take you on a brief timeline of our journey as it's related to AI and some of the things that we've been up against, and then some of the things where I think we could honestly use some parent advocacy around. So one of the very first things that I did when I joined the board was I set up a meeting with Dr. Grant. This was in January of 2023, so that we could establish guidance and start like developing out a list of standards as it relates to AI. Dr. Grant was 100% on board. We started having some initial conversations of how we could plan it. We started to set some dates. We even had a roundtable discussion with the State Board of Education. We met with the DME to try to establish a working group. Unfortunately, that never happened. We reached back out and there was really no response as far as like actually picking it up. We passed a resolution to establish priorities on AI, but then Dr. Grant left shortly thereafter, and we had new leadership. And with the new leadership, there's always transitions and things of that nature. We've been trying to get it off the ground, but still, we haven't really had as much movement up until now, where a lot of the members on the board are also starting to see, we're like really behind the ball on this. And so this year we've worked with the Student Experience Committee, and we've drafted 2 new resolutions. We also just had a meeting with the DME and the SBOE leadership just had a meeting with the DME, and it did not go as well as we had hoped, and mostly saying thing that we really heard was we're still not up to date, and we don't really know what direction to go in and things of that nature. And I'm at a place where right now I don't think that it's okay. It's not okay to not know, and we can't accept that as a response. And so one of the things that I wanted to do was really provide an avenue for them to look at it as a roadmap that looked at top down and bottom up approaches to ensure that our students are not going to be left behind as it relates to AI in education. So I developed a set of twin resolutions. The first one is advancing AI fluency in DC schools. The resolution calls for OSSI to develop grade banded AI fluency framework integrated across different subjects like ELA, STEM, social studies, CTE, and the arts. It emphasizes defining AI fluency as a set of interdisciplinary skills, including data literacy, ethical reasoning, and critical analysis of AI, as well as its social impacts. The resolution also recommends professional development for educators and a pilot for implementation in 2026-2027. The other resolution is establishing an AI leadership collaborative. In my job right now, I have the pleasure of supporting, identifying, and inspiring people to run for elected office across the country. And in doing so, I get to see so many models of what people are doing across their state boards as well as their school boards. And one of the things that I saw was a really good opportunity to take what people are doing in Texas, the state board is doing in Texas. They have this AI leadership collaborative. And so what this would do is the goal would be to build a systems level capacity by equipping educational leaders with the tools and knowledge to integrate AI ethically and effectively. The collaborative would convene DCPS, public charter school leaders, and higher educational partners, as well as entrepreneurs who are in this world to explore the instructional innovation, governance, ethical operational use of AI with expert-led like panels and opportunities for people to really no longer work in silos. And so both of these efforts are designed to complement one another, with one focusing on like student fluency and classroom integration, and the other with leadership and systems level readiness. Right now, both of these resolutions are in committee. We do have universal support, but I also, also welcome the opportunity for feedback on what it is that we're doing right now as it relates to AI fluency. Once again, I know I said a lot, but the goal is really simple. We need a set of standards to ensure that if we generally, when we say our teachers are going to teach something, there needs to be some type of framework that they follow, right? So they need to have some type of standards that are aligned to this work. And sometimes I think we gloss over when we say, well, this could apply to this standard, or this could apply to that standard, because often what happens is it ends up being left out. And so what I want to do is make sure that there's something concrete. And then the other part is really just having that professional development and training. One of the things that I learned is if you want something to succeed, you need to get investment and buy-in from the top. So you need to make sure that your leaders are bought in on AI, as well as understand and know how they could implement some of this stuff in the school or in the classroom. And so I'm not saying that I want our kids to start in like pre-K or first grade learning AI, but I think that there's some really tangible things such as logical thinking and other type of things that they can start to do at an early age. And then by the time they get to high school, they should be learning how to use AI and really learning how they could like master the skills, because there's so many jobs and so many opportunities for our students to really just take this and run with it. I just want to make sure that they're not left behind. And right now, I really fear that we are falling far behind. So I'll stop, and I'll, if there are any questions about what's going on, I welcome all the questions, and we can kind of go from there.
Hey, Suzanne, I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, George.
Okay, sorry to interrupt there. So I appreciate the information that you brought to us, Brandon. As you know, this week is Digital Citizenship Week, and many schools are doing something in regards to that. How do you see AI within the broader digital scope as far as teaching students? You know, as far as like safe navigations, how to detect truth from error, not just in the physical from what you gave, but also as far as if they're doing documents or reading passages and things of that nature.
So the goal is to have it like integrated within the work that they do. Once again, I want them to have a set of standards that focus on all types of different ranges of information. I can go back and I have a bunch of documents, and I mean, early on when we first started this work, we connected with AI for Equity. They are an organization that has been training schools and school districts across the country on how to use AI or how to implement AI within the work that they're doing. And so there's so many like I can share. Hold on. Give me some time and I can send like an email back to the group with some of the things that we kind of learned from our conversations in AI for Equity.
Sure. Thank you.
Yep.
Brandon, can you tell us kind of where things are in the process with these two resolutions that
Yep.
have been introduced, and also with the first one that my understanding is it's been passed by the state board? Who is supposed to be developing the AI priorities?
So the AI priorities were that was we passed that in 2023, I believe. 2023, and we shared it with OSSI, we shared it with the DME. One of the challenges that we've had, and I'm just going to be frank with you, everyone has been scared to touch AI. And it's really, really scary. Because when we talk to some of our leaders, they're like, I mean, yeah, I want to do this, but we're just not there yet. We don't know what to do or how to do it. And I think that is really, really doing our kids a disservice. And so when you say that, you're leading the work in education, you have to understand that as society shifts, we have to shift as well. Once again, I'm not saying like I want you to, teach kids how to like plagiarize, but I think that they have to be aware of the world that's around them and they have to be prepared for the world that's to come. And I am fearful that everyone who is like being kind of afraid to touch the topic will just put us in a not so great scenario. Bijan.
I was struck by on the spectrum of leaders and students, it really strikes me, and from the teachers I've talked to that are engaging with it, that the biggest benefit to our schools and and to students would be really streamlining teacher workflows using AI. But I didn't see that on that list. And so, I mean, I just think that's even far more important, or would have a far bigger return on investment for our students in our schools.
That's the first thing.
Making
That's
sure students.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Cut you off.
Oh, no, sorry. Maybe I just missed it. But.
That was on the first resolution.
Okay.
Yeah, that teacher training and that teacher training. Yeah. Scott?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it was a good lesson. And I think that's the kind of lessons that we should be doing all the time in school. I think like when Bijan says teacher workflow, I mean, I think part of that is like, yeah, sure, teachers might be using it to lesson plan and things, but it also can, I think one of the things is take out the tremendous amount of time people spend doing tasks that don't need to have that much of the time so they can focus on better lesson planning. And I think that's the real advantage. And but the only way that happens is if our systems get integrated with it, right? If like some people are using AI, but we still have to go to Aspen and put in every single note. That's not doing the trick, right? Like we have to get DCPS, OSCE, et cetera, to say like, we're going to figure out how to sync this AI tools with saving people time on data entry in 10 different systems, because that's the kind of thing that could save people a ton of time and have the teachers and students focus on learning. But we have to make the systems mesh with it.
Yeah, I agree with you. So the priorities, just for everyone, were equity, AI policies must. So basically, the SBOE is developing. We developed AI priorities to touch on these topics. Equity, AI policies must ensure all students have equitable access to technology and the AI tools, not perpetuating existing biases. Student and staff acceptable use. And so the student and staff technology and network acceptable use policy sets expectation for the responsible use of AI. Student-centered learning, AI literacy. So developing age-appropriate AI education for students in elementary and high school. Ethical use, teaching students to use AI tools responsibly and ethically, including proper citation practices. Professional development for educators. Teachers will need the training to understand and effectively use AI tools in their classroom. Accountability and transparency, the use of AI in high stakes decisions such as student assessment or disciplinary actions must include human oversight and must be transparent to the public. And then there's privacy and data security. So those are kind of like the AI priorities that we were setting at the time. Yes, Betsy.
Hello, sorry, I'm gonna unmute. So, I think, I applaud you for trying to get ahead of it. And I think it's the right instinct. But I will say, as someone who does sort of code for a living, and intended some trainings on it, like I think AI is being used in really bad ways and largely because people don't really understand what it does. And in some really cool ways that are much more narrow and specific, but you have to have coding skills. So what I don't want this is to be used in bad ways, like let's get AI to write the paper for you. But what I would like to see is like more integration. Well, first, just more data science in general, but then more integration of AI, but in ways where experts thinks it's actually a good idea. But I don't know how you do that without some data coding skills. So I'm wondering if it's like, the AI is one piece of this larger skill set that we really need people to have, and we really need people to understand what large language models can do and can't do, because that will solve some of the problems around equitable use.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 1,000% on that. As we talk about like digital literacy skills and things of that nature, I feel like this is a significant component of that work that could lie within that as well. I'm not saying that it should necessarily be standalone. I'm not saying that it should lay within certain things, but I do believe that we do need to make sure that we are addressing it. And I agree. I think that, if it's not done properly, it could be bad, right? But I think that we have to really pick up. We can't continue to do nothing in this scenario, and I do think that we have some places that there's some teachers who like are whizzes with this, and their kids understand how to navigate it because they've had this expert teacher who just happens to do this on the side, but then you have a bunch of teachers who, they're like, I'm not touching this stuff at all. And so we have to definitely look at that. Yeah,
So I think this seems like a perfect time to turn it over to Lucas.
I love it. Definitely loving the conversation happening. Totally hear everyone and kind of, where they're hesitant, where they want to see people moving forward. And I appreciate Brandon kind of giving that, like, you know, this is the state level, you know, discussions that we're having. And then I'm really today just going to show you what's actually happening in pockets in DCPS that kind of align to a lot of what has been said today. So I'm going to share my screen. I also have a little activity for us, not to start, but in a second. All right, let's see here. Things are moving a little slow for me. There we go. All right, so I cannot see the chat, so if something does come in, feel free to
It
just...
looks like it's a little big, is for
Is it big for you guys?
Yeah, yeah. Is it for others? I mean, like intelligent, it's the whole word isn't coming through.
Let me try to reshare. I'll try it this way. How's that? Is that better?
It's not showing up yet.
Can we see it yet?
We've got a split screen with you and with just a portion of your slides. There, that's good.
Good?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. All right. I'm not used to Zoom. I'm more of a Teams person in DCPS.
Got it.
All right. So let's dive in. So I already did my introduction, but I'll just kind of fill in some gaps there. So I am a former classroom teacher. I spent 7 years in DCPS as a classroom teacher. I was a technology coach at Cardozo, and then I've been at central office for the past 4 years, 2 years as a manager on the EdTech team, and now 2 years as director of integrated learning. These are my 2 managers, Brittany Bernard and Heath Brown, who support our educators, our central service folks, our school leaders in terms of professional development. So all the kind of PD that you guys were talking about in training, they're the ones that are doing that on the ground and coaching as well. These are the suite of tools that we support on the EdTech team. So Canvas, obviously, and Clever as our sort of main platforms. We are a Microsoft school district, so all of the Microsoft applications. And someone had mentioned, you know, kind of how are we using AI to support teacher workflows? We do have Copilot, which is the ChatGPT of Microsoft Office. And so that is embedded within our suite of tools. And we've done several trainings with some groups on how they can improve their workflows within the Microsoft suite. Some other things and that you're going to see today are the Microsoft Learning Accelerators. So I'll be showing Search Coach and Search Progress. So AI tools that can support students in identifying credible, reliable sources. And then we'll also be looking at Turnitin in terms of plagiarism and writing and Draft Coach and how students can use AI not to write the paper for them, but support them in the writing process. Okay, so my question is, when was the term artificial intelligence first used? So feel free to put it in the chat. Let's get a stream of answers. Was it the 30s, 40s? Was it the 50s, 60s? Do we think it was the 70s, the 80s, 90s? Do we think it was 2020? So go ahead and in the chat, and if someone could come off mute and just kind of let me know what are some of the answers that are coming in.
And Lucas, it's still, the whole thing isn't showing up on the screen. It says artificial intelligence first use.
Let me see. I got the layout, content only.
It's
It's
just,
looking normal. Yeah, I don't know.
that's fine.
It's looking normal on my screen.
oh, it is?
It is?
Yeah, I think it's your computer, Suzanne.
It's just me? Okay, sorry.
Sorry, Suzanne. So let's see here.
You know.
Oh, Brian, so Suzanne said 1970s. Brian said 1950s.
All right, so it was actually 1955, 56. So that's what you said. Kudos to you. That was actually when artificial intelligence, that term was first used. Then you can see almost a decade later, the first chatbot was created in 1965. And then another good chunk of time from 1965 to 1980 when expert systems are developed. We then have another, almost 20 years when most of us probably can remember when the AI beat the world chess champion in 97. And then again, another big chunk of time from 97 to 2009 when Google builds the first self-driving car. After that, you can see that the acceleration of the technology, artificial intelligence, began to really accelerate in advancement. So in 2011, we have, I'm sure we remember, Watson beats the human on Jeopardy. In 2011, we have the voice activated assistants. I'm not going to say their name because they might be in your house. And then in 2020, we have GPT-3. 2022, it's released, and now here we are today. And so really the point here I'm trying to make is, one, this technology has been around for a long time. And two, you can see up until like 2009 that it took a while for advancements to happen. Now we're in a space where this technology is advancing at such an accelerated rate that we may, in the next 5 to 10 years, be in a position where we're at AGI, which is where the artificial intelligence is actually smarter than humans. And so a lot of what Brandon was talking about, not just at the state level, but at government level, needs to happen to ensure that humans are at the center of this technology. So keeping humans in the loop. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about how we did that in our DCPS AI policy, the resources that we developed, and then I'm going to demo some of the tools. So you're actually going to experience what our educators experience in some of the trainings that we do. So we have a policy, an AI policy, and I'll drop the links to all of this information in just a moment. But I wanted to show here that when we were developing our policy 2 school years ago, these were some of the resources that we looked towards to develop it. So the Office of Educational Technology had guidance that was published. Teach AI had a really good resource toolkit of how to develop guidance and policy. And then Digital Promise actually has an AI framework around understanding, evaluating, and using AI. And one of the reasons why we selected the Digital Promise framework was because we use the Common Sense Media digital citizenship lessons in DCPS. And what Digital Promise did is show how the topics that are in digital citizenship align to what AI literacy means as well. And so it's kind of like a really easy way for us to just build on what we're already doing. Let me drop the links to a couple of these in the chat. So hopefully they are hyperlinked. Did they hyperlink for you guys?
I'm not getting a hyperlink. Others may be, but I'm not.
Okay, I'll maybe in the follow-up email, I'll try to hyperlink it for you. So when we were writing our policy and guidance, it's showing up really in 3 different places in DCPS. We have our staff, student and staff technology and network acceptable use policy, our AUP, and that's where we actually embedded our AI policy. So there is a section in there that's for the public to review what our AI policy is. I'll be showing a snapshot of that in a moment. We also worked with our SEED team. Our SEED team focuses on post-secondary, and they also were working through updating the secondary grading policy last school year. And so with that, they had created an academic integrity policy embedded in that. And so we worked with them on how teachers and students should be and should not be using AI as it relates to academic integrity. With that, we also purchased a plagiarism tool. It's called Turnitin, and Turnitin has an AI detection software in there. And so a lot of the work that we did was around how teachers should be using that AI detection software when it comes to student grading and that academic integrity grading policy. Finally, we have a whole bunch of resources and guidance for teachers and students. We have a artificial intelligence toolkit. It's basically like a web page. We have it's SharePoint in the office world. And so we've collected, resources and guidance there on how to adopt and learn and implement AI. We have a playbook that's going through revision because this technology is advancing. So we're trying to also, keep that up to date. We have some one-pagers for educators and students on all of the tools, the AI tools that are currently available to them in the district today. And then we also have our annual artificial intelligence lessons that students take at the beginning of the school year. This is the second year, I believe, that's been in place in tandem with those digital citizenship lessons.
There's a question right now from Bijan that I think is relevant to what you were talking about. He asked, do you have a sense of what teachers are typically using it, I guess AI for, and even which resources are most clicked on, viewed, used?
There is, off the top of my head, probably around 15 approved AI tools in the district. Our approach to incorporating AI was to look at what we already have that's available and working with the vendors on how they've been incorporating AI into their tools. So an example for that is Nearpod. They built in a lesson creation tool where teachers can put the DCPS lesson in there and it will create an interactive learning experience, like a game-based learning for students. Lumio did the same thing. Like I said, we also have Copilot in the Office suite. So we do training on how that can be used to create differentiated activities based on our lesson plan. So I do have, I have like vendor level data of those tools being used. I would say this year is really the year that they launched all the AI stuff. So definitely going to be digging in this year on like, okay, how many teachers are clicking that AI feature in your tool? Good question though. So the policy snapshot, kind of leading into what I was about to say, is AI should be used as a supplement, not a substitute for learning or high quality tier 1 instruction. And really what that means is DCPS has created for most grade levels and content areas, high quality instructional materials, our unit guides, our lesson plans. And so we want teachers to be using that in the classroom versus going to an AI and creating a lesson plan that isn't really aligned to the standards and the scope and sequence that we've provided for them. Now, what they can do is take that DCPS lesson plan, upload that to Copilot, or like I mentioned, Nearpod or Lumio, one of these other tools, and create differentiated activities, scaffolds for students to meet the needs of the students that are in their classroom. Another part of our policy is all AI generated content must be reviewed by a human. We are the experts in our different fields, and so it's not a copy and paste situation. You want to make sure that whatever the output is makes sense, is aligned to what you're teaching or what you're working on, and so we made sure to put that in our policy. And then a few other things mostly related to like bullying and harassment, plagiarism and cheating, and then uploading of PII, which is personal identifiable information, or any other sensitive data and recordings. And so, we have, like I said, those approved tools that if a teacher or a staff member does upload some sensitive data, that data is either not going anywhere, or it's just staying within that vendor's cloud space. So we have those safeties and guardrails built in. Some tools have them technical things. Other tools are really just like the training behind it. This is a sample AI use guide that we provide. So some resources that we provide teachers that they should include in their syllabi at the beginning of the year, or the assignment sheet of an assignment that they're working on. And it really, we want them to take this and edit it to meet the needs of their classroom and how they want to approach AI. And so, there's a level of use, permissive, moderate, or restrictive for any particular assignment or parts of the assignment. And so, we definitely encourage teachers to take this and work with students before we get to the space of you shouldn't have been using AI. So let's have the conversation with students before we do the assignment so that they're using it responsibly and ethically. And the MLA, APA, Chicago style, essentially how to cite sources, they've already developed guidance on how you cite AI generated content. So that's there for students as well to use. And then here's the academic integrity snapshot. You can see here the screenshot actually shows you that Turnitin AI detection software that I mentioned that we provide our teachers through Canvas. And you can see it shows them like 56% detected as AI in this student writing. And so they can dig into all the specifics of the writing. And so some of the guidance that we provided in that academic integrity policy was no grade reduction based solely on the Turnitin probability score. These tools are not 100% correct. And even the tools themselves say it. So we want to ensure that the next bullet, the teachers are utilizing that academic integrity AI use guide to determine those next steps when non-permissive AI use is identified. And so we know writing is a process. And so there should have been brainstorming and drafting. And so we want teachers to be able to go back and look at the whole process. And also maybe it's a writing conference where the student is, meeting with the teacher and being able to stand up their argument and understand what it was that they wrote before they move into that, the grading policy and reducing a student grade. Okay, so talked a little bit about policy, talked a little bit about resources, academic integrity. And so I want to just put it together for you in what this could look like in the classroom. So over on the left-hand side, right? Assigning the writing assignment. So I'm gonna use a paper, the full writing process as an example. So the teacher is going to give that AI disclosure table, what pieces are permissible to use AI, what pieces aren't. And then the students are going to go and they're going to use one of our Microsoft AI tools, Search Progress or Search Coach. They're going to search for those credible sources for their essay, and the teacher is going to scaffold that task for them. I'm going to do a little demo on that in a minute. Then after they find their sources, they're going to draft the essay. We always want to blend, we have a blended learning approach, so they should be doing offline activities as well. Have students actually write out that first draft, right? Then they're going to type that draft into Microsoft Word Online. We have a student tutor, AI tutor called Draft Coach in Word Online that helps students improve their writing. It's basically the student-facing tool of the Turnitin teacher tool. And so students can use that assistant to help them improve their writing. It doesn't give them the answer, it supports them in being able to correct their writing. After that, they're going to upload that essay to Canvas via Turnitin. And that's when the teacher then uses the Turnitin tool via Canvas Speed Grader, grades it, provides feedback to the student, allows the student to make as many submissions as the teacher allows based on that submission, and they resubmit. Okay. Questions about like kind of this full process of like where AI could be incorporated, where it isn't, before I dive into actually demoing some of this for you? All right. I'm going to share my screen and hopefully we'll be able to see it.
I think I figured out my problem.
Okay. All right. Are you all seeing my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. So I am in a team right now, and I'm going to show you what the teacher experience is. Again, this would be part of a PD that we would do for teachers and demoing for them how they could use this tool. So we have our learning accelerators. I'm going to click on search progress because I want students to start to search for sources for this essay that I'm assigning them. You can see this little view here. We'll get to that in a second. I could customize my assignment over here. So I want them to have 5 sources, student description of why each source was saved. So our instructional priority is around metacognition and reflection in DCPS. So I'm going to leave that on. I want them to be able to explain to me why they selected this source, making their thinking visible. Require students to include APA citations for each source. So they actually have to create that citation. I want them to have a reflection of the assignment overall. Great. Okay. I'm digging this. So I'm going to go to the next. All right. And so this is test essay. Let me see here. I have to go to, I'm trying to figure out how to pull up that PowerPoint again. There it is. I have to grab this little prompt here. Okay, I'm gonna go back to where the teacher would type in the assignment. So this is actually the unit description that DCPS provides, right? And that's the assignment details. I'm gonna click this button here where it says adjust, because this is from an 11th grade ELA unit plan around evidence-based writing, focusing on creating literary analysis based on the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass and The Great Gatsby, okay? And then I'm gonna click Add Detail. And so someone had mentioned, you know, teacher workflow. I am using AI to create my assignment sheet. And you can see here, I now have a full assignment sheet that I used AI to generate, right? And it was based on DCPS materials. I'm going to keep it, right? And I could continue to add things. Then I will assign it to my students. I'm going to go to, I'm just going to open up a new one to show you what a student would experience. And so they would then search in a search bar similar to this in that assignment, and they might do something like copy and paste the unit essential questions, okay? And so they are now searching for sources for this essay using this AI progress search coach. You could see here, I could click on this and it says .com sites are commercial, meaning they're trying to sell something. They can be good sources, but keep in mind most newspapers are .com, but they can also be biased. So the AI is supporting the student in being able to determine what may be credible and reliable sources. Okay, great. So I did that. Now I'm going to type my paper, okay? So I have my paper typed. I'm gonna just use the draft of the tech plan that we have coming up here, and I'll click Draft Coach, right? So I need support in helping with grammar and citations, and so this is what a student can use here. So I'm going to run a grammar check on my paper that I typed for Great Gatsby. It's doing a lot of thinking tonight. Okay, so I'll just pick fragment, okay? It defines what a fragment is for me. It says I have this many fragments. It could take me to all of them. And then I could click show examples. Consider these examples. And then it will actually show me in the example how I can change a fragment to a complete sentence. And so then I would go in my writing and I'd be able to then use that support to then revise my essay before I turn it in to the teacher for final grade review. So that was Search Coach and Search Progress. You could see here that there are many other AI tools in the Microsoft suite that students can use. A lot of our ELA teachers, our ESOL and multilingual teachers are using Reading Progress in Coach, which is available as a standalone app in Clever. So if you wanted to log into Clever with your student, you can go in and play around with Reading Coach. There's also a math progress tool that's available, and then Speaker Progress Coach as well. Finally, I want to close out with just some of the supports that we also have for our DCPS families. So I had mentioned at the top, we do have digital citizenship lessons. They do come from Common Sense Media curriculum, and we have them in Nearpod, so it's like an interactive learning experience. That's also where our AI lessons are. All of that can be found on the DCPS Digital Literacy and Citizenship Family Portal. So we have sample lessons on there that you can see what these lessons actually look like. And then at-home family activities for each of those lessons. So they're working on them in school. Here's some support that you could have those conversations with your children at home around those topics. I'm sure we're probably over time, but that was all I had. Is there any questions in here that you saw were kind of burning that you wanted me to maybe respond to?
Bijan? Bijan, are you still
I
there?
think Bijan had to run.
Okay. Other questions?
Yeah, can I ask a quick question? So there's a lot of good information, and I don't know that I would do it justice passing along this information to the broader organization, like at a PTA meeting. Is there like support that we could have where some of this information could be communicated at an upcoming PTA meeting?
Yeah, I'm actually meeting with Lauren Brown, the Deputy Chief of Family Community Engagement External Affairs tomorrow to discuss how ed tech and the tech plan, which has some priorities and objectives around, kind of disseminating our tech plan and AI work that we're doing. So I'll bring that up in my meeting tomorrow with her. And specifically around like, are there resources? What's the best way to communicate that out? We have done some sessions on Parent University, the YouTube channel for DCPS. So there are recordings on there related to more sort of digital citizenship and literacy, not so much the AI. But yeah, I'll bring that up in my meeting tomorrow. I would point you to that family portal that I did just share at the end, though.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to think of a way to communicate like all that was shared this evening, or at least a good chunk of it, to the broader families in an intelligent way without, just spewing off some bullets and not being able to answer all that many questions. Yeah, if you could let us know what you find out tomorrow, or whenever that happens. Is it best for me to reach back out to you, or would you rather just reach back out to Suzanne?
I think maybe I'll follow up with Suzanne, just to kind of, yeah.
And
just so
I'm
I'm
happy
not,
to share it with everybody.
That would be great. Thank you, Suzanne.
Grace?
Hey, Lucas, good to see you.
Hi, Grace.
Hi, Brandon mentioned there's some hesitancy slash people not knowing, being afraid to jump in. I'm just wondering how much enthusiasm or lack of enthusiasm have you seen from teachers and school staff in adopting these kinds of tools?
We just had our October PD day last Friday, right? And we had over 17 ed tech sessions throughout the day. And I believe probably about 10 of them were AI, right? So some form of AI, or it was like Nearpod, and then this is how you could use the AI. The teachers are loving it, right? I would say this year, our vendors are much more prepared and kind of have a vision of how AI is working in their tools. And so for teachers, again, the lift wasn't, let me train you on this new AI tool. You're already using this tool.
Yeah.
They have AI in it now. And so they're like, I can't wait to use this. This is going to make my life so much easier. I was working with the principal. I was presenting Copilot to principals last year. and showing them how they could use Copilot to write draft emails or parent communications. And he said, well, I have a 5th grade graduation coming up. Can it write my speech? And so we were talking about prompting, and he wrote the prompt, and like that, he had a speech, and he's like, you just saved me so much time when I could be focused on other things. So again, I always point back to our policy. It's a draft. Everything has to be reviewed by a human. But yeah, they're definitely loving it.
Okay, thanks.
So on the flip side, Lucas, does it also increase some teachers' workload in terms of reviewing student work, in terms of, having to determine, have they used AI for this? Did they do it properly? Whatever. Is it increasing a workload in some aspects for them?
So, Turnitin, the tool has been around for decades, right? It wasn't until the AI, craze that they added this AI detection software. So, writing is a process, right? Learning is a process, and being able to provide them with the tool that can support them in learning and support them in grading and determining, it gives a little bit of a less work. But you're right, like at the end of the day, we are they are having to look at, what am I assigning students, and is this something that they're going to be able to use AI on, right? So again, going back to the resources that we have, that you should be having that conversation with students at the beginning, how to use it responsibly and ethically, because we know they're using it, right? And so bring that conversation into the fold, because teachers are on the front lines, and if they're not the ones teaching students how to use these tools and create with these tools, we're going to be in a bad spot, kind of what Brandon was alluding to earlier.
Are there other questions?
I had just one follow-up question, if that's okay, Suzanne.
Yes,
So
please.
it seems to me, based on what you presented, that at least for the time being, DCPS policy is more encouraging students to use it for, format and style and grammar, and not for creating content per se. Would you say that's accurate?
Well, we do have the Adobe Express and Adobe Suite tools for our arts teams, students that are in those kinds of courses, and there is Adobe Firefly in there, so image generation software. So there is an aspect of creating there, like images. Copilot just launched probably about 2 months ago the student license, or I'm sorry, Microsoft launched the student license of Copilot. And so we can turn it on. We're not prepared to do that. We need to definitely, share our policy and our guidance and make sure that that's to a broader audience before we turn on a tool like Copilot, where students can now create PowerPoints and Word docs and anything and everything with a tool like that.
Okay, thanks. One more just follow-up question for Turnitin. Is that judging the content or the formatting, like the conciseness, or both? Like, how accurate is that tool, and what exactly is it judging?
So the Turnitin software is looking at citations, grammar, and it's looking at a database for plagiarism. So it's looking at all the other papers that have been put in there, as well as what may be on the internet, to determine if a student has plagiarized their writing. The AI detection part of it, it's like a layered in tool, is also looking at the probability score that this text that was put into the software was AI generated. Like, did they use ChatGPT or something to create it? They also Turnitin just launched probably about 2 weeks ago, added, not security, but like added checks into their tool, because there are tools out there now that students are using that they put their ChatGPT text in so that when they submit it, it doesn't look, it bypasses the detection, right? It's making it not look like AI generated text. Well, Turnitin is aware of that. And so they have layered in the ability for their tool to say, okay, they used an AI bypass tool in their writing too.
So we are coming to the end of our time. I wanted to talk about follow-up. Brandon, I think it would be helpful if, and Grace just asked the question about sharing the resolutions that you have referred to, so you can share the one that's already been passed, and then you have drafts of the other two that are yet to be passed. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the other two, I'll send over the first one to everyone. I'll send that, well, I'll send it to you and you
If you send it to me, I'll send it out to everybody.
Well, then the other two, I would, if it's okay, I would like to submit that to you next week after it's fully gone through, because right now what we have is a draft, and that allows for, there could be a couple changes that go before next week. So I can send one to you today, and then the other two I can send next week.
Okay. And then Lucas, based on Brian's question, I think, are there going to be some opportunities for your office or someone else from DCPS to be able to make presentations at PTA meetings about AI and how it's being used in DCPS?
Yeah, like I said, I want to talk with the deputy chief first, just to see kind of how she would want to approach that. I don't want to be like, I'm going to go to this PTA and this PTA, right? Like, let's be systematic about it. But I will definitely follow up with you on like what that best approach should be.
Okay. And then I'm going to ask one final question to both of you. How can we, as a volunteer parent group, help you with this? Brandon, you can go first.
Yeah, I think just whenever you're having conversations, if you run into someone from OSSI or the DME, just ask, hey, like, how's the work going with AI? And that just lets them know that they should be thinking about this. And you don't need to do too much other than that. But I do think that if you run past someone who's with OSSI or the DME, more so the DME than OSSI, because OSSI is moving in that direction. But to just ask them about it. How's the work going on AI?
Okay. And Lucas, is there anything we can do?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, having conversations with your children about AI, right? Talking with them, how are they using AI in the classroom? Are they using it? Aren't they? How would they like to use it? And having them self-advocate to their teachers, to their school leaders, around, being able to utilize this 21st century technology in the classroom.
Okay, that would be a great, as part of your overall presentation, maybe to include something like that and have, questions that parents can think about and ask and talk with their kids.
Love it.
Okay, let's see. Okay, and Brandon, Grace, if you see in the chat, the status of each resolution would be helpful to know too. Okay, any final questions before we end? Okay, I really want to thank Brandon and Lucas. I mean, this came together relatively quickly, just in the last week and a half. And I just appreciate your willingness to come and share what you've shared this evening, and also for all the work you've done on this. This is really incredibly helpful. So thank you all. And we will have a meeting in November, I think. Let me just check real quick. It's going to be the 18th, and I'll just give folks a heads up. We're going to try to get a group to talk about what the DCPS is doing on language immersion at the middle school level and the whole effort around the Chisholm parents trying to get a middle school language immersion program. And Sarah, you have a question?
Sorry, I just wanted to put a plug in and let you know, Suzanne, that I'm going to send you a link. But we are the group of parents that are engaged on the health suites issue, have another survey to try to get a sense of how the transition from children's school services providing the sort of health suites management to DC Health providing it directly, how that is going, and what folks' experience with coverage and medication training has been this year. So if I could send you that link
and
to send that
thank
out.
you for your continued involvement and leadership in that issue. It's really important. So we appreciate
Thanks.
it. Please send a link. Okay, with that, good night. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. I gotta figure out how.